interestingly enough, it was my mother, who is a teacher and a counselor and retired from that, who said to me, you know what, when I was coming up, there weren't a lot of options, kind of like what you were talking about earlier. All I could really be was a teacher. No one was really, giving me the opportunities to do something else. But you have a different opportunity. You could go, you could go work in business. You could go do something with all this work experience you have. If it doesn't work out, come be a teacher, but, go do something more because you can. Because I didn't have those opportunities as a Black woman in Los Angeles at that time.
Welcome to Career Plug. Hi, and welcome to Career Plug. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. Also, please like and comment. Over here, we are punching up in terms of our guests. I'm calling on personal relationships and friends. That's how I'm punching up. So I really feel like I'm bringing significant value. Please, again, like, subscribe, comment as we bring more content your way. Today, I have a special guest, Caprice Bent, and I want to give her a proper introduction. So I'm going to read just a bit of her bio. Caprice Bent is Vice President, Divisional Merchandise Manager, Cosmetics and Lingerie, for those that pronounce that better, at Ross Stores. She's a tenured fashion and merchandising executive with over 30 years of experience. She's served as Vice President, Divisional Merchandise Manager for Ross Stores since 2017. She directs a team of buyers across all categories of handbags, fashion, accessories, and travel, strategizing growth initiatives, collaborating with vendors on new product launches, and managing all financial and profit responsibilities. That was a handful and mouthful, but I want to thank her for joining us on Career Plug today. Hi, Caprice.
Hello. Happy to be here.
Thank you so much. I had to reiterate that, look, I'm calling on all these personal relationships because I think it's really important for people to see careers that exist outside of the box, if you will. The box is typically law, medicine, engineering. Maybe we throw finance and architecture in there. Those are great careers. You are married to a lawyer who I know. So, but I think what's interesting are the number of careers that exist outside. And if you don't know, like, how do you go if you don't know, right? So let's start with sort of just, real easy. Like, what are you plugged into these days? Give me a little bit of what you're doing. I know you're always shaking and moving. You and the hubby stay on the move. But what specifically are you plugged into these days?
Well, obviously with what I do, I'm always plugged into whatever's going on in the fashion and the retail sector. So that is just like a baseline. I'm always trying to figure out what's the hot new thing and making sure I'm in the right places at the right time to identify those trends. But for me personally, I would say what I'm really plugged into right now is fitness and family. Fitness, family, and friends, I would say. And what that looks like for me is, back in the day, I worked out really just to look a certain way, and it was just like to keep things right and tight and whatever. Now I find as I've gotten older, a higher stress level takes a lot more to get, the results you want. I'm really plugged into fitness as a lifestyle choice and really looking at it through a different lens of I work out and I stay active really for mind, body, soul. And just, if there's other added benefits, great. But if it just means I'm not a crazy person when I go to work every day, great, kind of thing. So that's one thing. And then I would say family and friends. And the reason I put that in there is because I think I'm at a point in my life and my career where moments with people that matter really matter. and as I've gotten older, my parents are older, friends, family, all of that. I see an additional, I guess, importance around making sure those moments, that I'm there and I'm present and I'm making time for them. And it might be traveling, it might be hanging out. I just spent time for my nephew's birthday, but really making sure that I'm, plugging into the things that matter. And for me right now, that's fitness, family, and friends.
I love that. And while I certainly miss LA, having been there, and our entire sort of fam bam
Mm-hmm.
over a 15-year period, like that's no small,
Yeah,
small amount of time that we built a number of relationships. I am grateful to be home in St. Louis around, family, and kind of plugging back into that after being
hmm,
away for something like 22 years total.
absolutely.
So yes, the three F's are important. Um, and yeah, certainly, like, just miss you guys out there. So anyway, um, I know a little bit about, your background and schooling, but would rather you kind of give us a brief snippet of, like, you're born and raised in LA, but talk a little
Hmm.
bit more about, maybe places you've lived, where you went to college, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay. So, yeah, I'm born and raised in South Central Los Angeles. I like to say my friends and I that I grew up with, we say we're unicorns because no one's from here. Everyone, like transplanted here. So, those of us who are from here, kind of have a special place in all of our hearts because we feel like we're unique. But born and raised here, I grew up in Gardena, went to school, public school, LAUSD, shout out, um, the whole time. And really just had a great experience growing up in Los Angeles. Ended up going to UCLA. It was a little bit of a departure from my original plan. My original plan was I wanted to be the next Debbie Allen. So I studied dance for many years, my whole childhood.
Mhm.
But quickly realized that dancing as a career wasn't really for me. Like the lifestyle that went along with it
Mhm.
didn't really click for me. So after I deferred school for about a year to dance and do some different things in that world, went to UCLA. I'm from a UCLA family. My uncle went to UCLA. My sister went to UCLA. My cousins went to UCLA. We were very much kind of plugged into UCLA. Went there and ended up majoring in English and African American theater. And it was one of those things where it was my plan to be a teacher. That was what my
Wow.
my mother did. Once I kind of decided I wasn't going to do the dance thing, I was like, well, I'll just be a teacher. That's noble profession. It's the family business, if you will. And interestingly enough, it was my mother who was a teacher and a counselor and retired from that, who said to me, you know what? Because I worked all through school. Back then you could work and go to school full time. It wasn't as
Correct.
ridiculously expensive as it is now. And so I worked part time my whole entire career at UCLA. And so I had a lot of business background. I managed a hotel. I was the campus manager for the dorms. Like I had all this kind of interesting work experience. And my mom was like, you know what? When I was coming up, there weren't a lot of options, kind of like what you were talking about earlier. All I could really be was a teacher. No one was really, giving me the opportunities to do something else. But you have a different opportunity. You could go work in business. You could go do something with all this work experience you have. If it doesn't work out, come be a teacher, but, go do something more because you can. Because I didn't have those opportunities as a Black woman in Los Angeles at that time. So I took her
Mhm.
advice and went to the Career Center, found out I was graduating a quarter early. So I was really not prepared. And there was only two companies interviewing. There was a nuts and bolts company, and there was at the time Robinson's May, which was a subsidiary of May Company, obviously a major retailer at the time. So I interviewed with the nuts and bolts company. I honestly didn't even know what they did. I just knew they had great benefits and it sounded interesting. And halfway through the interview, the guy said, "Do you even know what we do?" And I was like, "Not really." And he said, this
Wow.
is not for you. This is not where you want to be. But what I'm going to do for you is I'm going to convert this to a trial interview for you. So you're not going to get this job, but I'm going to help you get the next job. And that's what he did. We talked through, he gave me some tips on how to answer questions, things to think about, ask about. And as a result of that, I went to the next interview for Rob May, ended up getting the job after 5 interviews, and entered their executive training program at that time. And that was kind of, the beginning of, I guess, the end, because I've now been doing this for over 30 years.
Thank you for that. That is huge. I mean, going back to, friends, family, fitness, we see the Michelle O's, right? So, but what I didn't know is that you had such an extensive dancer sort of training and background. So that is an interesting fact for me.
Yeah.
And then shout out to your family. Look, there aren't many families who have a number of people that have gone to college,
Mhm.
especially a UCLA caliber. When we see legacies and folks that have gone to colleges, the great thing about that is, in the South or East Coast, it's going to be your HBCUs, right? So I don't know of many, sort of like legacy families, especially going to like a UCLA. But that's great.